best entertainment on the earth. Tune in for Comics with Perch.
Hey everybody, this is Perch. Is Captain Marvel popular? Marvel tells us that she's popular, but is she actually popular? Well, first of all, popular is a bit of a subjective word, of course. It goes without saying. So when you say, is she popular? Yeah, there's a contingent on the internet that are the Carol Core. Although I don't, you don't hear much from the Carol Core anymore. I don't know. I'm assuming it still exists, but the movie seemed to kind of, blow that out a little bit. They got a bunch of pictures posted with the logo and people kind of giving the fist, raised fist kind of thing, and the flex fist, I should say. That'd be a very different Carol. Anyway, but I think that was a relatively small group, all things considered. That's not to diminish that some people love the character. Of course, there's, people should love whatever they like, and there's groups and all the rest. But in terms of like mass popularity, probably not. In fact, here's, I would speculate that if you're talking about kind of the mass market, so not necessarily comic fans, people who go into a Walmart or a Target or something like that, and they buy, stuff from a character, then I think that there's, just observation, both of what the kids gravitate to. Like I take my kids to toys and what's there and what's being sold and what's not being sold. Characters like Batgirl from the DC superhero girls line, that lineup, are more popular. Harley Quinn is more popular. And I think in Marvel, and some people are going to hate this, I'd say Kamala Khan, Miss Marvel, is more popular to the normies than Captain Marvel. And I think that the movie is about, or the Disney Plus series is about to put a exclamation point on that. It's, people were mocking that trailer and everything else, but no, you got The Weeknd doing the song, and you modified her powers to be a little bit, it's less like Luffy from One Piece, and it's that's gonna work. I'm just predicting it here. I know that there will be Disney has gone full woke times fucked up. They'll use My Hero Academia. It's plus ultra woke ultra. I don't know that you're gonna get a lot of that, but it's like, hey, girl struggling to fit in a little bit, kind of nerdy, gets powers, mayhem ensues. That's sorry, that's just it's a tried and true, vehicle for a comic. Now you can still mess it up, but they're gonna land that one. I think they're gonna land that one better than they landed the Captain Marvel movie. So I think my guess is Kamala Khan's gonna be the more popular one there, but we'll see. We'll see. Again, I said with normies. I think with the comic book, right now, I would guess that Captain Marvel is probably more popular than Miss Marvel to comic book readers. And I think part of that is just because Captain Marvel's got a chance to be in more things, do more things. Miss Marvel doesn't have an ongoing series right now. They're doing a bunch of little limited series, but those kind of seem a little bit directionless to some extent. And I think Miss Marvel has the same problem. Kamala Khan has the same problem that Carol does, which we're about to talk about. But I got this. Somebody sent in an email for watcher of the show, and he said, "I know that." Well, the subject line says, "Is Captain Marvel actually a popular character?" And then it goes on. It says, "I know that her movie made $1 billion, but I feel like it was more because of the tease in Infinity War. People outside my mom really were indifferent toward the film. It doesn't feel like she is actually popular of a character. That popular character, the sequel of Captain Marvel is called Marvels, and she is a co-lead. We all know that her comic doesn't sell that well, with the current run being slightly above average. Maybe below average. I got some numbers, by the way, from, Diamond put out some numbers what's selling for Marvel. Now, they're just a fraction of the Marvel sales. Penguin Random House is doing the bulk of it, although not a massive amount. And we're starting to do kind of orders and projections. And the numbers are dismal for some of these books, including Captain Marvel. They're not great. Anyway, the mail continues. I think that part of the reason that Carol, or any of the other Captain Marvel, so for that matter, haven't really been that successful is they lack a really defined section of the Marvel Universe for her to inhibit that has any real weight to readers. Thor has Asgard, Spider-Man has New York, Daredevil Hell's Kitchen, Hulk Southwest. Carol really seems to have Earth and space for her world. Another reason why I don't think Captain Marvel is popular is that she lacks any iconic personal villains. Captain Red Skull, Thor and Loki, myself and Arby's, with whom she is truly challenged against, and her ideals are shown through. She's also going to need to be at birth defined. It does dawn on me that I have a more well established feud and bitter rivalry with Arby's than Carol Captain Marvel has with any villain, which is, I mean, yeah, you're not wrong. All right. Last off, Captain Marvel lacks a real hook for her to be, for her for the moment. I wouldn't be able to successfully pitch her as a character during an elevator ride because Carol in the role is half baked. I could for Captain America, Hulk, Spider Man, Daredevil, etc. I think what Captain Marvel legitimately needs is a writer to do for her what Frank Miller did for Daredevil and redefine her. Also, doesn't it kind of bother you that Monica wasn't Captain Marvel before Carol? Well, yeah, the problem with Monica is that I think they had a good they had a character that was Monica Rambeau. I think was on that track to be a really well defined good character, good origin story, stuff to struggle against. They're starting to build up a rogues gallery against her. It felt like they were going to go there with Moonstone a little bit, which was probably a pretty good angle. And then it's like, nah, we're tired of this. Like, what are you doing? Um, so that's mail, and it's a good one, and I think it hits on all the major topics. I mean, that is the problem. The challenge is that Carol Captain Marvel doesn't really have a clear focus definition. Now, if I'm being entirely fair, I think Kelly Sue DeConnick attempted some of that with the whole Air Force hook, and I think there was an angle there that they had going for them where you kind of are like, oh, she's a fighter pilot. So there's a bit but that's not enough. But there was like a moment where like that was part of her history, and DeConnick I think fleshed that out a little bit, and that was good. But otherwise, she has had this problem. In fact, that's kind of been her defining characteristics. If you go further back in time, was that she was an alcoholic in Kurt Busiek's run, and then kind of a combination in Reed's run and what Bendis did was that she wasn't living up to her potential. She had powers and she could do more, but she was kind of just half-assing it. And so her kind of defining trait was that she was just not that great. That was and then she needed to rise to that challenge. I think I always say it's a good idea when you have a character and you give them something to struggle against. Struggling against being, worthwhile is kind of a weird flex. I don't know that I do that one for a character, because if you do that wrong, it's too easy to just do serious damage. And I think that's a little bit what happened with Bendis. I mean, he did way too much where he was kind of like, she could be more. She realized she's a bigger hero. And during House of M, she realized she was the most powerful, superhero who wasn't a mutant in the entire world. And everybody loved her and she was popular. And then she comes back to Earth and she just run around in this crappy swimsuit costume with a sash and nobody cares. And she could be more. And that was kind of the crux of what he wanted to do with the character. And then he put her in Mighty Avengers, and he had her kind of, just being kind of bitchy against Tony Stark. The two of them were like, going back and forth, and then they kind of teased almost a romance. And Bendis was trying this new thing with Thought Bubbles, where he was kind of really trying to nail her insecurity, and but it's like, but I'm also powerful. She got like this chip on her shoulder as a core aspect of her character, and that's probably the other defining trait that's really kind of stuck around. Is she's arrogant, is for lack of a better word. But again, so we go through kind of how she was built up. She's an alcoholic. She was kind of half-assed as a superhero, didn't live up to her potential. She has some kind of Air Force background, and she is arrogant. That's not a great combo overall. Just this like that's tough. I think Captain Marvel, in terms of you've got a female superhero, you've got a costume that, in some cases, is pretty memorable. It works, and then you have a good, like kind of generic power set, but you can work with that. It can work. I think you could make Captain Marvel very, very popular, but you've got to give her some core things to hook onto. and I agree. Like she needs what is her stomping ground? They had her up in space, and she was with Alpha Flight. She was kind of running a little space station, but it really didn't seem to matter, and it was unclear why she was like she'd go onto the space station. She's like, man, I could use a coffee. Silly banter, silly banter, silly banter. Oh, here's some random alien that's trying to get to Earth. I'll get out and stop them because that's my job now. Is I'm a border agent. Like that. Like, that's just not. You can't get too excited about that. And then absolutely true about the villains. Like I know they're Vox Supreme, which sounds like some kind of pizza. I mean they tried to Kelly Thompson has been trying to bring that character up, but it's kind of unclear. Is this her arch nemesis now? I mean, is her arch nemesis cats with snake tails that smell like pee? Because they keep coming up too. I mean, they need to pick. I mean, this is where you should take a villain that's somewhere in the Marvel universe that's not somebody's primary, villain. Like don't pick Green Goblin or Doc Ock or Red Skull, but pick somebody who's a reasonable, good villain that shows up every now and then, and have that villain really hate Carol, and build that villain into an arch nemesis like Bullseye or Kingpin for Daredevil. I mean, just give her something where she's got a real person lurking in the background that's trying to stop her. And I mean, they've got the Kree scientist woman, and there's these characters, but they always feel extremely half-assed. Like, and they run into the same problem, same trap that you see with a lot of other characters these days, which is even when they're supposed to be the nemesis, they get defeated easily. Again, Kelly Thompson, to her credit, has tried. I think in a few areas, he introduced this character Star. I mean, but unfortunately, the Rogues Gallery is multiverse, son of Namor, Vox Supreme, and Star. It's like it's okay that you're doing some of that, but like you need to actually take somebody. Like I think they should go back to the plan, and they kind of had it for a little while. Get Moonstone, power her up a little bit, let her run amok. Get the advantage of having a villain who's also been around for a while, because Carol has been around for quite a while in comics. So give her something to do. It's tough. So no, I don't think Carol is that popular. I don't think it would be that hard to make her popular. I think you could do it. I don't think the character is fundamentally broken and nobody will ever like her. But you're going to have to do some work, and you're going to have to do some focus stuff. And no, you don't have to put her back in a costume that shows off her tits, but that may not hurt. People may like that and enjoy looking at it. The people who are buying it, so some would, some would not. But that's not going to build up the popularity of the character either. You're going to have to do something a little bit more with villains, with the location. Just establish. She does need her born again. Anyway, thank you very much for the mail. Wonderful, appreciate it. Let me know what you think. And you're going to be tempted to write nothing, but put on your thinking cap. A lot of people who who come to videos and they're like, why isn't the comic industry? Why isn't it smarter? Okay, well here's your chance to show them. What would you do to make Captain Marvel popular? What are the things you would do? Let me know in the comments below, and thanks for listening.